Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. And I gotta tell you, I refuse to go on with this trial without my lawyer present.
But you are the lawyer.
I know, so where's my present? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna go ahead and take a look at I Napoleon. Now, I know what you're thinking. No, I'm not Napoleon, but the game is actually called I Napoleon, right?
Yes, I'm aware Napoleon banned La Marseillaise. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
So what's going to happen here, ladies and gentlemen, is you take on the role of Napoleon Bonaparte. It's a solitaire game, and as you're playing through the game, you are essentially playing different cards. Now, you've got three decks. You've got the Commander deck, representing Napoleon's turn as a general during the French Revolutionary Wars. The First Consul deck, after the coup of Brumaire, when Napoleon takes over the government and he becomes the first consul. And then finally, the Emperor deck, after he makes himself emperor. And this is shown by him having increasing diplomatic and political control over the course of the game. The game starts here in 1793. Potentially, it could go all the way till about 1817, 1821, theoretically. Good luck getting that far. But what's happening here is throughout the game, every round, you're going to engage in a series of actions. First of all, you have this card draw track. Now, what you're going to do is every round, you will draw 5 cards from the current deck. And then once you get to the 6th card draw, you're actually going to roll a dice. And if you roll correctly, you roll high enough, you're going to draw another card, another card. So potentially every round you could draw up to, theoretically, 12 cards per round, but you're always going to draw at least 5. Now, the cards themselves that come out, they're going to affect the board in different ways. You're going to place them in different places. Napoleon's family, his wife, the different countries that Napoleon is dealing with, his government, his personal life. There's all sorts of things that's going to play out here as you're playing these cards. And the cards interact with each other in different ways. Some of them give you choices. They force you to make die rolls. There's all sorts of different things they do there. But each year, you're going to go through the deck. You're going to add in discarded cards, but some cards are immediately removed from play during certain game effects. But you're going to go ahead and you are going to take out any cards that are removed in certain game years. So you're going to make sure that your deck is year appropriate every single year of the game. Then what's going to happen is at some point, as I say, you'll move from, well, actually, getting ahead of myself, what you do is after you do all the card draws, you go ahead and go to the campaign. Now, in the Commander deck, rather, you're going to draw different campaigns that you're going to play, and you'll take part in these campaigns. You can essentially have these commander cards that come out. You can pay some of the resources, and we'll discuss those later, in order to bring those into play. You'll have strategy and tactics, but there may be campaign modifiers that make the campaign more difficult or a little bit easier and contribute to kind of these DRMs throughout that campaign. Now, if you win the campaign, essentially it's based on a die roll, and you're trying to manipulate you got a 10-sided die, and you're trying to manipulate the track here. If you win the campaign, you're going to get resources, maybe some other goodies. You may inflict certain conditions on other players, on other countries in the game. If you fail, there's going to be consequences for that failure there too. Now, that's just what the commander deck covers. Once you transition to the first console deck after you play the Brumaire card, what's going to happen is then after you do the campaign, you're also going to do a diplomacy check. You're going to see where the various countries are. Britain's always hostile to you, but Spain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia are going to go up and down these tracks. They can either be allied to you, neutral, or hostile. And that's actually going to be important because in subsequent rounds, you're going to be able to choose which campaigns you do. They don't just come out of the deck. You choose which campaigns you do based on this kind of configuration here, which, what you can do based on the configuration of who's hostile and who's not. But after you do the campaign, you do a diplomacy roll. You roll on each of these tracks. Essentially, if you roll a 6 or greater, they stay where they are. If you roll underneath that, if you're 1 through 5, they degrade. They never go up on a diplomacy roll. They'll only go down. It's the card effects and the campaign effects that will move them upward on that track. Then finally, you're going to go to the domestic policy table. And on the domestic policy table, you're going to look at a number of factors on the board. If you had any battles that were especially bloody, you're going to get like a -1 DRM. For instance, continental system, when that's in play, that's a -1 DRM. There's different DRMs that go there. You can spend some political points in order to get that, try to manipulate that up. And again, you're not going to get anything from this track. It will just take stuff away, and it's very difficult, to get that perfect 10 on those rolls so you can maintain that. Now, once that's done, you go ahead, you put the card draw token back up at the top. You can put the year token one more over. And what you're going to do then is look at some cards. They give you, at the top of the cards, some specific information about your resources. For instance, this is -2 glory, but you're also going to get, +4 administration. And you're going to manipulate the track, which takes us to the resource track. So you have various resources here. You have glory. And glory, if it gets to 50, you can flip it over, so you got 50. If it gets to 50 again, you get the limits of glory, which is kind of this you can't lose that. That's just going to really help you at the end of the game. And then you've got administration, which you use to pay for certain effects in the game. You've got politics, which you can use to spend. You spend 2 of them, you get a +1 modifier here. You can also spend them for some campaign stuff sometimes and other effects. And then you've got diplomacy, which you can actually spend to help you with these diplomatic roles on the board there. So that's essentially how that's going. So you're playing through the deck. You're playing through these 3 eras, and there's different things that can happen to you over the course of the game that can cause you to lose. For instance, if you lose all of your glory, it results in a coup. Napoleon is thrown out of office because, as Charles de Gaulle said, France without glory is not France. So that's one way you can lose. There's other card effects that can lose. And critically, throughout the game, there are chances that Napoleon can be killed. There's a strategy card you can play. You have a number of strategy cards you can play to help you on the campaigns. You have one strategy card, Bonaparte Leads. After you play it, it really can help you, but you take a chance every time you play it because potentially Napoleon, you roll a die after it, and on a roll of 1 to 2, Napoleon is killed. If he's wounded, you actually get glory, which is a good thing, but he could be killed, so you're risking him every time. Now, you do have, thank you, Napoleon's Luck. You can spend this once per calendar year. Essentially, this will let you, I believe you can ignore a card, or a campaign card, I think, every year. I can't recall exactly, but one of the things it does is it lets you re-roll a die once per year, so it gives you a little bit of leeway on that. So that is essentially the game. You're playing through the 3 eras here. You are playing the cards. You're placing the cards all around the board. You are manipulating the resource deck, and you are hoping that you can go ahead and not only survive, but thrive in the game. Now, critically, if you reach the end of the game, eventually you're going to get to the abdication, and that will, again, I don't want to spoil everything for you, but that can lead to the end of the game, and also to, critically, it's going to kind of where you are and what you've achieved here and on the board is going to tell you what kind of a victory you win. So if you can survive, if you can make it all the way to the end of the application of the game and you don't die, and if you get a lot of glory, then you can have a brilliant success in I, Napoleon. Okay, so that's just a bare overview of the game. Now let me tell you how we played. So I started this just by myself as a solitaire game, and I was at it a few hours, and I was gonna finish it last night, but I just didn't have the time. So Ray was coming over tonight. We're gonna play a game. We weren't quite sure what we are gonna play, and I just said, "Hey, I've still got this out. I want to finish it." So Ray came over, and tonight he and I finished it. We kind of worked together and made decisions together here about how we were playing it. So we kind of it's a solitaire, but we played it as a co-op, and we lost.
No.
We lost. How did we lose, Ray?
Glory.
We lost.
It was not a glorious battle.
We lost. Yeah, and kind of like Napoleon himself, we were in Russia. You know, we were in Russia, and it was that Russian winter that just killed us.
Yeah.
It just killed us. We just couldn't.
Yeah, because we lost 3 commanders the same year that we lost the game.
Oh, I know. We're doing pretty good on maintaining commanders for the most part.
Yep, all our commanders died. Everything.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. It was pretty brutal. But okay, so let me ask you right off the bat, general impressions. What do you think here of I Napoleon?
So I Napoleon, actually, as far as a solitaire game goes, this is probably the heaviest solitaire game I think I've ever played.
You've got to play Mr. President.
It's at my house. I've opened the box and I closed the box. I just haven't had enough hours to play yet. But no, it's on my list to do. No, so it's actually a really good game. When I was looking at the game, I was thinking it actually felt like it was going to be a lot slower than what it was.
It moves at a fast pace.
But it does. I mean, there's so much you're doing every single year, and you're doing it so many different times. But there's so many different cards and so much going on that you're constantly looking to figure out what's going on. So it keeps moving. It's not like you're ever just kind of stalled out on anything.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Because there is a monster deck of cards.
And that other deck, those are cards that were just removed from play over the course of the game.
So that's what we still had to play, and this is everything that that's left from play. So
and there were a few card decks left too, because there's other cards there. In fact, in some of the photographs you're seeing, I've got dice on that. That was just to hold the cards down for my fans. Those dice are part of the game. But we still had a few of those decks come in small, few cards to come in. But yeah. It does play fast.
It does. It plays fast, and with so many cards, the way the cards interact, and it's not like this card interacts with this one. You might have a card that interacts with like 15 different cards that could be scattered throughout the whole entire game. So it's constantly in play.
You got to be on the ball, because we certainly, in playing by myself, I know I missed some here and there.
No, it was actually a really smooth game. Once you know how to play this game and understand the game, it plays just really super smooth. It's just, every turn is just go, 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 done. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward once you figure it out.
Yeah.
I know. I was wrestling with some concepts early on, because when you play, like I said, the commander deck, you just get the campaigns from the deck. But then when you are in the first console phase and beyond, you've got kind of potential campaigns, potential treaties.
Right.
And I wasn't quite sure how they work. I had to go back and reread it because I missed that. I was really impressed with this system, though, of you pick a campaign based on where these things are, which is another part of the game, of the diplomacy game. I thought that was actually really interesting and compelling.
It was, because if you can get everybody neutral or better, chances are there's just going to be no campaigns for you to play that particular turn.
Do that, you got to. Spain.
Well, you might be fighting Spain, but if you got Spain up as well and Britain's only one down, you're really limited.
What I said, when Spain comes online, though, I think he's online until that card goes out.
Yeah.
Until abdication.
And there's an abdication to get rid of it. And then,
So I think once he's down there for the game.
Correct.
But I can see what you're saying earlier on.
Right, because, we spent, oh my gosh, we spent so many years with Spain all the way up here as an ally.
Yeah.
And so once we pulled these up, it was, there wasn't that many. There was like one different campaign that we can kind of run.
But the game kind of encourages you at times, even like I remember I said to you one time, I don't care if Austria gets down there. We need to find it. We need glory.
Correct.
So you kind of, you're not going to get that just sitting on your butt. You need to go and win these battles, right? So stuff like that's pretty interesting. I thought the domestic politics thing was, really, to me, that just feels like a way to rob you of glory, which I totally get why it's there. That puts the pressure on you, It would have been nice if there was a possibility of some reward or something nice there, If not glory, maybe one of the other resources or something, if you've rolled exceptionally well.
Honestly, if this wasn't here, we never would have lost with glory.
Well, no, we lost glory from some of the cards.
We did, but we kept losing so much glory
We did.
here
We
that
did
if you
lose.
give us that glory back, so I mean, I can understand this. I think this almost feels like it was put in to balance the fact that there are so many different ways that we can gain glory,
Right.
but there's not as many ways to lose glory. Especially if you don't lose any battles, you're not really losing the glory, and you can actually excel on this track very, very, very high.
Yeah, but
It's
man,
it's like
some of those-
administrative.
but some of those
Administrative is
battles
hard to
are
go down.
Brutal. I mean, because we lost, like in that last card, we lost like 15 glory or something. That's what
Yes.
killed us. I mean, that was just insane.
Yes, but no, it was actually really good.
Yeah. I mean,
Really good.
go ahead.
And you know that it's kind of one of the things that's interesting about these really, really heavy games. You know, and GMT's got a couple of them, but I mean, I can see playing this as a solo game. But actually, when I was playing with Cody and we were actually working together on this game, because there's so much stuff going on and you're trying to, this card interacts with this card and this card, it was actually really nice having two people play this together
Well,
as a game.
and a part of that too is we reminded each other of certain rules and
Correct.
certain card effects and stuff, which is kind of hard to keep in your head. So I definitely agree with that.
I in bigger co-op game or bigger solo games, I like that. I like working as a team with some stuff.
Well, and two, Mr. President, that's when I played solo, and it seems like I've heard a lot of people say they prefer to play that one as a co-op. You know?
Oh yeah, multiplayer co-op.
I wish that game was a had like a dedicated co-op system though, where you had like cabinet members and stuff. Because I think that would just be fantastic. One of my big fears going into this game was I was scared that given the card, because you're definitely playing out the general contours of Napoleon's life and career here. And one of my big fears was that the game would play you rather than you playing the game, because you're so much dealing with the cards. Cards are coming out; they're giving you the general, as they say, the general story, the general contours here. What do you think? Do you feel like you had enough agency here in the game?
Oh, 100%. Because the thing is, I mean, there was a couple of rounds that, I mean, we only got 6 cards per year, and that's all we're going to get. Once we got our 12. But the thing is there's so many cards in this deck, and there's so many different things that'll happen. There were some years all we did is nothing but gain commanders.
Yeah.
So I thought there was definitely some decisions that you can make, because a lot of the commanders and stuff you don't necessarily have to put them in play. It's like you can choose to put them in play. Some you must, but others you can keep in this deck. And as long as you keep them in this deck, like you pointed out to me when I was kind of questioning at first, is well, yeah, then you always got these good cards are gonna be coming back, and you're mitigating the bad cards. The only problem I found is, I mean, that's a deck of 100+ cards right there, and every year I kept drawing a couple of the same cards, no matter how much I shuffled.
That was funny. We did see a lot of the same cards that would come up.
Which and I don't think there's really multiple cards of any type in there. But I don't think the game really played me.
No, I don't either.
At all.
I was afraid that's what the game was going to be.
No,
and it's not. It feels like with every card draw, with everything that comes out, everything that's affected, I'd say most of it comes with some kinds of decisions that feel very consequential. Having said that, I do feel like there are a few. I mean, look, let's face it. This game is really all about luck. With the die roll, I shouldn't say it's all about luck, but it's a heavy die roll game. I mean, you are constantly rolling the die, so there's a lot of luck in the game, and you have to be someone who appreciates luck in the game. Now, you can mitigate that luck, and really, I think more than anything, that's what the game is about: is manipulating the dice with the DRM and trying to mitigate that luck on the game board. And I think this game does it just about as good as any game I've seen. Giving you the cards and the choices, and then having you do that. Because I think the campaign system here, as simple as it is, was first of all, they told great stories, the battles.
Oh yeah.
And they felt consequential to the game. Not only in terms of glory, but with the treaties and what was going on there. When the treaties come out, they did all sorts of funky things, and that's all dependent upon the war, the battles. Like I said, that last battle in Russia. I mean, we were in Russia. We lost the battle in Russia. We shouldn't have, but we did. We lost the battle in Russia, and then we immediately have to play the Retreat from Russia campaign, and it just screwed us.
But got murdered on that one.
It felt like a good story.
It really was, and that's the thing. So this campaign, and of course, there's a little battle mat that you can use to kind of help you figure everything out. And so that way, you know where to put all your cards, you know what's going to go on. It just organizes things really, really well because all your cards are going to be in these stacks down here. But this is, I like this. I really like this whole DRM because based on the different cards that are in the different countries, and based on whoever your campaign is that you're fighting, your first thing you're going to do is figure out exactly where you're at in this negative track.
Right.
And then, I mean, the conversations that we had is like, well, which one of these commanders do we want to bring in? How many do we want to bring in? Do we want to bring them in on the first combat turn? Do we want a second combat turn? Do we want to hold some for a third combat turn? Because we need to get this up.
And is it worth spending it? Because, like, for instance, like Davos gives you a +2 DRM, but he costs 3 glory, I think.
Yeah, you're really.
And you don't want to be spending glory if you don't have to. And we did. I mean, actually, because we were at 14, we lost 15. If we had left Davos at home, we still would have had another round. Well, we maybe not, because these things would have taken our glory away from us. So, But anyway.
But no, I really like that. I mean, the administrative, that's mainly what administrative is used for, trying to get your commanders out there. So our administrative always stayed really, really high. That glory is the one that just kept really bouncing across the board.
Because I got up, I think I had at one point when I started playing in the 40s or something. And it was early in the game, and I'm thinking, crap, this is easy. But I didn't have to roll for the diplomatic roll or the domestic policy rolls here. I didn't have a lot of these guys sucking the glory off of my bones there.
Right.
I early in the game, I think it's a lot easier just to get it without too much trouble. But then as the game progresses, you get the first consul and the emperor decks.
Yeah.
There's more stuff that's drawing it away from
you. Yep. And even some of these cards like that we lost, it's like draw a card, -5 glory. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
so you never really want your glory to be 10 or less because you never know. But then again, you also may turn around and say, hey, you know what? Spend an administration and get that 5 glory back. So and you have so much administration.
It's funny because that's how it played out. We got the Arc de Triomphe, got 5 glory, like, and it was like just a few cards later we got Beethoven.
It was actually the very next card.
Was it the next
card? It was the very next card.
Man.
Yeah. So we got the 5, we were excited, and then we got Beethoven and lost our 5. And then we fought Russia. It was that was But no, that was it. But it was fun. I mean, the thematic part of that was just really great.
Well, that's just it, because the game. So, as someone who has, studied this history quite a bit, Napoleonic warfare was a subfield when I did my PhD. I'm actually in the fall going to teach a course on the French Revolution and Napoleon. And as someone coming to it with a lot of background in the history, I was frankly astounded at how well the history comes through, while not, twisting your arm to make you follow it. I thought it did a really good job of, like, for instance, when I was playing yesterday, I actually sent an expedition to America, and I I think I reclaimed Louisiana and the territory for the French or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that, and I thought that was ahistorical, but still kind of within the contours of what possibly could have happened, and affected the game enough that it was important, but not so much that it kind of throws a monkey wrench into everything else that you're doing. Really liked it. Really liked seeing the different historical figures, Berthier, Abbé Sieyès, Talleyrand. It's just fun. Wellington.
I hate Wellington.
You know what, though? He's better than Nelson. Nelson.
Oh, man.
When Nelson was out there, he sucks 2 glory every turn for me, too.
Wow.
So.
Oh, yeah. I think Nelson was out when I first got here, and then we drew Wellington. And okay, Britain, just this whole box is just horrible.
Yeah.
But, but no, it actually played really well. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. This was actually well thought up. And, the thing is you have this monster deck of cards, and so many new cards are constantly coming out. But then again, so many cards are going away.
And that kind of brings up another point. When I was setting it up and organizing it, it was like, wow, like, oh my gosh, it just seemed so weird the way they did the cards. And then once you're playing the game, you're like, oh, that's why they did it that way. And it made a lot of sense once you played into a few rounds. Now, having said all of these good things about it, I will say, I felt like, we kind of touched on this earlier, I felt like there was probably a few things here or there that maybe I didn't get 100%. maybe I fudged a few minor rules here and there from that, because sometimes I played a card that referenced another card that like should have been out, and it wasn't, and so stuff like that happened occasionally. So there might have been a few little things I wasn't on the ball with, but generally, and my biggest complaint about the game, and really my only major complaint about the game is, and this is something we talked about, it's a long game. I probably put, just from playing it, and I kind of set up and everything, I probably put maybe 5 hours into it. You know,
That's including the time I was here.
yeah.
Because
yeah.
I mean, you and I played together for 2 hours.
Or about 2 hours, and because I played this over the course of 3 or 4 days, and I think,
Okay.
and like one night I was at it for about 2 hours. You know, I actually set it up one night and I played it for about a half an hour, and then I played it I think the next night for 2 hours, and then I think yesterday I just did it for maybe about another half hour. So yeah. Anyway,
So when I got here, you were at 1804,
yeah. What do we?
and it took us two hours to go right there. And I relatively knew how to play the game when I got here, because I read the rule book and everything. So there was only a couple things that you really need to explain to me.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 of the 25 years.
Yeah.
It took us 2 hours to play.
Yeah.
So no, this is a really long
Now, there are scenarios. You don't have to play the full campaign. There are shorter scenarios you can play, which thank heavens. In fact, if I and again, we've just played the one game, so you take that for what it is. But I think if I were to play it again, I would definitely just play a scenario and learn that, and then I should say when I play it again, I'll just play scenarios before I try the grand campaign again, because it's good, but it's a bear. And this, I mean, honestly, I can't imagine playing this game in one sitting. It would have to be over a few days for me.
Yeah. Although knowing how to play the game, I think the time would come down. This is one of those games. I think there's a huge learning curve on this game and everything else. And some of this was still my learning curve, even though I kind of knew the game. I hadn't played it yet, so was that. But I mean, I think the game would come down. But it's still, I think this is still a multi-hour game if you play this full-on entire campaign. Yeah. It's definitely one you're setting up and you're leaving for a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, first of all,
and I do not want to reset this game. I do. Oh, the reset of this game would be a game in itself.
So let me ask you: do you is this a game you think you would want to buy?
You know, this is a game. I mean, I like solo games. This is a good enough game that yes, it's one that I would buy. My problem is it's one that I would buy. It would sit on a shelf and I'd pull it out once a year.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's not gonna get a lot of play.
But it's one that it would sit on my shelf and I would walk by it and go, I really want to play that game, and I'm gonna set that game up. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a week off of work and I'm gonna play this game. But no, the littler campaigns, and that's the one thing I did not look at. I did not look at playing the small little, the little scenarios that you can do, the little shorter ones. That I haven't looked at that at all. Yeah. And honestly, if I can get through one of those in a couple hours, then this is definitely this would excel this game to me. But I've only looked at this game as playing the full-on whole campaign.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and let's go to our rating then. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give I Napoleon?
For me, I would actually put this game at about a 7.5.
7.5?
I think it's a really good game. It's super long. The thing that this game, you kind of touched on it already. So there are a couple things in this game. These cards, I would have to sleeve this entire game because these are not easy to shuffle. These cards are stiff. Yeah. They are not easy to shuffle, and we kept getting the same cards coming out because as I'm trying to shuffle them, they were only shuffling in chunks. Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure that's why that is. But there was a few different occasions when we believe there was a card that should have been in play that was no longer in play, that we disappeared, and we had to go back through these decks and stuff, and we had to try to find a card to see actually what happened to that card. Yeah. There's the little things like that is the.
No, I get you.
That's what keeps the rating down for me. But I think it's still a really good game. It's just one that you really have to pay attention to your cards, because if you mess up your cards earlier on in the game, it can affect you later on in the game.
No, for sure. Well, I think you're right. I think it can. I don't know that even if you screw up, as I'm sure I did a few times, it's going to completely ruin the game.
It
I
doesn't
think
stop
you
the
can
game.
ruin it.
No.
Let me just say, I think I hear your concerns are valid, and I really debated whether to weigh the game length in my review, and I decided not to because I haven't played the scenarios. And even then, I just kind of wonder in general if game length should be a factor on how good the game is. That's something I'm still going to wrestle with. I'm going to err on the side of caution here. I'm going to give it a solid 8. I think this is a good enough game. It is definitely going to stay on my shelf. I'm sure at some point I'll pull it out again, try one of those scenarios. You know what? One thing I don't think maybe we hit on here enough or at all, and that is just how immersive the game is. I mean, for a history junkie like me, and I know that's not your cup of tea, but for a history junkie like me, this game just nailed the history. And I thought it did such a good job. Like I say, allowing for you to do these ahistorical things like any good war game does or anything.
Yeah.
But still kind of remaining within the realm of what could have happened. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I think it's a fantastic game. The designer Ted Racier, he did Paths of Glory and he did First World War. He's done a lot of stuff over the years. I'm trying to think of all the games of his I played, but I'll tell you, out of all the games of his I played, this is I think my favorite. I really like this one quite a bit.
It is. It's good.
Yeah. Well, all right. Any final thoughts or anything else you want to say?
No, I think we pretty much nailed it. I mean, there's and we only touched a small portion of this game.
Yeah.
There is so much to this game, but like I said, I mean, there's a lot of these people. I'm not a super big history buff, and I just have a hard time remembering some of the people. But boy, I'll tell you what, you read some of these people, and it's like, hey, like Wellington. I mean, he affects so many different campaigns that go on, and and all these different people that it's actually really cool seeing how all of these different the different people in the game, how they interact in so many places in the game, and how everything really ties together.
Yeah. So anyway, this is really fun game. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, I ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. Please check out my other channel, Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. That would really mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel. Please give a thumb to us here on YouTube and a thumb on Board Game Geek. And if you really do like the channel, you like the kind of stuff we provide here, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. Ray, can you tell me a sport that begins with T?
Golf.